What made you guys, how'd you guys come up with that?
Actually, the council was an initiative that they designed on their own. I think they recognized the frustration with the population. And to be honest with you, Elliot, I think they felt denied that they didn't get to vote last week on Tuesday because the developer had pulled the application. And as a result, if they'd have voted and voted it down, it would have been frozen for a year. They couldn't bring it back. So their concern was if they do it right now, then they can have their year by declaring a moratorium and take control of it themselves rather than leave it to process.
Certainly, it's something that the citizens liked. You could hear that, as a matter of fact, they said it.
Yeah, some of them even asked for it permanent. The downside of that is, say somebody comes back tomorrow with a fantastic data center proposal in a completely different place, there's no consideration for a year. So I'm sure the council weighed all that before they took those steps.
Would you guys have handled this process any differently? Look at the battle that erupted from it. What would you have done differently?
Well, actually, this started like almost a year ago, and we were in the process the entire time. A staffer back at the early stages signed an NDA because we didn't know anything about it, and they wouldn't tell us anything about it unless it was signed. So we signed it. That's when we started learning all about it. And like I said, there were some very dynamic things about a data center. There are some risks and rewards, and there are some advantages and disadvantages. So we've been working through that process with them for almost 8-9 months. But we kept saying we need to tell people this. We need to tell people this, especially since it was in the wellhead. They wouldn't allow it, and as a result, we weren't able to tell the people. And I think they shot themselves in the foot by not being more forthcoming. If they'd have told us some of the things 4 months ago that they told us 4 months ago, let us tell the public, there might not have been a meeting. I mean, people might have understood better. I think the one dynamic, well, there's two dynamics. One was the wellhead district, since we've had that contamination problem years ago. And they were scared that something else would happen. And the other thing was the transparency. I mean, why won't they tell us what's going on? And that exacerbated the situation. And then once stuff gets on social media now, it's a bomb.
That seemed to be the common complaint of people that, well, they signed this non-disclosure agreement and they won't even tell us, and we're the taxpayer.
Right.
That seemed to get people more than anything.
Well, and I think part of that is business acumen. I've been in business for 45 years by myself with my company. We sign NDAs all the time because people aren't going to bring in a dynamic new development and tell you everything up front, and then their competitors either come in or kill it or do something or ghost them or whatever. So it's not uncommon. In this particular case, this is the first time in my career of 60-something years that I ever saw somebody not say, well, we'll tell you this, we'll tell you what you need. Like I said, I think they're hubris.
Of course, there's a different dynamic, though, when you're dealing with residents and taxpayers than when it's business to business. So when you are in the situation that you're telling taxpayers, sorry, can't tell you anything about it, you know how that sounds.
Well, let me give you a cross example. And I told this to one of the ladies in the audience. We've been working on a hotel development for 2 years. I never went to her and said, hey, I'm working on a hotel development, because we were working through the process and the hotelier didn't want competitors to come in and undercut them or blackball or anything like that. So it's not uncommon that they don't know about it until it gets closer to the end process. But, and to be honest with you, there was never, me as the mayor and the council never ever voted for a data center. It was all about diesel to run generators in case they had power outages. Well, 1 million gallons of diesel. Well, no, it's 80 gallons of diesel per generator, and it's over a 10-year period. So you take things like 1 million gallons of diesel over 10 years, and you consolidate it, then it becomes a panic thing, and then it becomes socially prominent on all the websites and everything else.
Different than a hotel. You say, we're going to build a hotel, and then people are not asking you for all the details. They say, oh, I understand the concept of a hotel, good idea, okay. And so you're really not getting that same pushback.
Okay, rookie reporter, I'm going to tell you this. You need to come to the next hotel situation with me because, well, are they going to have lights in the parking lot? Is it going to shine in my kid's window? How much traffic is going to increase in my neighborhood? Oh, you're going to have a bar, there'll be drugs in the neighborhood. So while they're not exactly similar, every one of these situations with development has extenuating circumstances.
Did you expect this one to blow up like it did?
No. I thought people would take a different approach to it than they did. I didn't realize that when the suspicion thing came out, that was really ugly. And then one of the people who ran against me for mayor evidently checked my ancestry and came up with the fact that there's a 5th or 6th generation cousin who owned the property and then they accused me of being in the deal, when in fact, Clayco bought the property, the city did not rent it. We had nothing, I didn't even ever met these people or know anything about them. So that was just another political shot to try to move things forward.
The move today means what? Passage of the resolution means what?
It means that council, if in fact they want to, can educate themselves further. Some of the council people went to other data centers. One of the mayors in St. Charles County actually works and operates a data center. So we have a lot of information. So if they want to school themselves to make a decision down the road, should it come back, that's fine. If not, then they'll just at the end of the year they'll say no, you're extended or ban it completely.
But at the very basic level, it means what? The council won't consider this for a year?
Nope.
Is that what that means?
That's correct. It's not a ban, it's a moratorium. So in a year, it'll come back to council and they'll say, do we want to extend the moratorium, do we want to ban them, or do we want to take another look? Maybe by then, in the interim period, say another one comes along with different property and different stuff, the dynamics of this thing financially are enormous. And from a facility standpoint, water, electric, all that, it's very dynamic. So at that point, they may have a development from somebody else that says, yeah, we'll consider it at the end of the year now. But if they're going to do that, they're going to have to educate themselves, otherwise the situation will be no different.
What's the downside of you guys deciding not to go forward with this?
Well, the Chamber of Commerce and some others have said, well, it'll say St. Charles is not business friendly. Couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, we're on fire out here. We have all kinds of public services, restaurants, entertainment stuff, and everything else. That's still going full speed. This was an isolated instance on a project that it would have been the biggest development in the history of St. Charles County. It was a little overwhelming.
How much would it have generated, would you say, in terms of dollars? Any
I
idea?
would guess somewhere in the neighborhood of 8-10 million.
Okay.
It was significant, but you go 3 days without water, you die. You can go the rest of your life without data.
So you don't regret that it didn't go through?
I don't know. Well, no, I don't. I'll have to say I don't. I think if the people want it, the people can get it. If they don't want it, they won't get it.
Mayor, thank you, sir.
That's,
Appreciate it.
let me throw something else at you overall.
Go ahead.
One of the ways I described this early on is, you're not as old as me, but Sputnik started the space race. This is basically an AI race with China. And that's why the federal government is spending so much money that's behind these developers, is they want data centers all over the United States to be able to compete when it comes down to that. And people have come up to me and said, I don't want AI. It doesn't make any difference. AI is here and it's coming. I was at Linwood University the other day, and one of the people on the board with me is an educator. And he said, well, with this AI, people can take a test and just get the answers. And I said, exactly, that's what we're teaching them how to do. You know, the fact of the matter is, if tomorrow they said, give me the history on Kilimanjaro, you and I would go to the library, looked it up, made notes, and formed an opinion. They go on ChatGPT, and in 2 minutes, they know everything we knew after all our research. Well, that's not the same. Yes, it is. The end is you've got the knowledge to know what it was about. You just didn't have to go through such a long process. I remember when we first got calculators, we would use a calculator, then we'd take a pen and paper and try to make sure that it was correct. That's the same thing people are going through with AI. They're scared of it, they don't trust it, but there's no stopping.
Do you think anything like a data center will ultimately come to St. Charles and be built here?
There's already one in Warrenton that's being considered very seriously. I think there's actually a couple on the east side or in St. Louis, so it's a coming thing. This was bigger than most. And the reason it was bigger than most is when we didn't go out and ask for it. When they came to us, they said, look, this is the perfect storm for a data center. Water, electric, infrastructure, everything else, environment. And that's why they chose St. Charles, and that's why they fought so hard for it, but not so smart for it.
You think they'll come back?
I think they will. But at the same time, I said this before, they're going to have an uphill battle. The audience is already jaundiced. It's easier to sell something once than just to resell something like that.
They may have learned a lesson from this experience.
I hope so. But even if they learn the lesson, then what they need to take the temperature on the jaundice and the dissatisfaction out there to make sure it's enough to overcome it. This is going to be a $1 or $2 billion investment. This is not chicken feed. So, yeah, it's going to be something.